When you think divination, you think about Apollo, how he's the god of oracles. But another god that deals with divination is Hermes. And I was reading this book a while back that I did a review of, and the first time I really became aware of it, of the divination that we're going to do today, that's interesting. It came from the oracles of Apollo, and it brought up how Hermes is also helps us with divination. So we're going to talk about that one today. So there are many forms of divination, such as tarot cards and oracle cards and pendulums that people use. But we, as those who worship the gods of Elis, have the option to pray to gods for help when it comes to advice of present matters or future matters. Again, you can pray to Apollo, or you can pray to Hermes. I wanted to throw that out there for you guys and talk about that today. So what I'm reading from is, again, from the oracles of Apollo, and it talks about Hermes and his connection to divination. So it says the other gods who play a major role in divination is Hermes, master of ingenuity, lord of barter, the preeminent guide, boundary crosser, and interpreter. And it talks about he is the god of clever speech, including eloquence, but also trickery and deceit in whatever works. He's obviously the messenger of Zeus, communicating between Olympus and our world. As a soul leader, he is who takes us to the underworld when we die. So we call on him when journeying to these realms. And it says, where Apollo acts from afar, Hermes is ever present. He is also referred to as the helper of mankind and the friend of mankind. And in the story of Hermes, Apollo gifted him with the art of pebble divination. So I just wanted to mention that there was a oracle in the ancient days that referred to Hermes and divination. It was a prayer accompanying one of the Astragolos oracles that confirmed his role. In a prayer that's in this book, it says, "Thou Muse's servant, Hermes god, Apollo seer, hell well-spoken Zeus's and Maia's son, my guide, reveal to me decrees and oracles." Again, thou Muse's servant, Hermes, god, Apollo seer, hail, well-spoken son of Zeus and Maia, my guide, reveal to me divine decrees and oracles. So that's a prayer to possibly write down and remember if you want to pray to Hermes for divination and oracle readings. So there are a couple of divinations I wanted to do today. The one requires a bust or a statue or representation of Hermes, and the other is going to be a coin method I'll talk about. The first I want to talk about is the bust of Hermes divination. So this kind of divination I read originally in this book, The Oracles of Apollo, and I got super excited, and ever since I read this, I looked and looked and looked for a bust or statue of Hermes to be able to do this divination with, and look what I got. I have a bust of Hermes. And so how this divination works is that it says that a common method of divination made use of chance utterances, and that could be understood as omens or oracles from the gods. These might come in unbidden, but there are techniques for obtaining them. For example, we know that in the middle of the marketplace, there was an oracle in the form of a herm, which is a four-sided pillar surmounted by a bust of Hermes. So an herm or a herm is in the marketplace. They would have a pillar with a penis at the base, but at the top of it would be the bust of Hermes. And so it says that there was a stone hearth in front of it and a bronze lamp on both sides. People would come at night and pray for an oracle, burning some incense on the altar and filling the lamps, and place a copper coin on the right side of the image. And also, here it comes, this is where the divination comes in. After whispering their question into Hermes' ear, they covered their own ears, left the marketplace and uncovered their ears, and took for their first words the answer to their question for the oracle. So there you go. So that was the one that got me when I was reading that book. I was like, wow. I said, that just sounds like an easy divination to do for some advice. If you wanted some advice on a situation and so forth, such as tarot cards and oracle cards and the traditional stuff we always do, is that we would do a ritual prayer to Hermes, and then you literally whisper into his ear, cover your ears, and the first words of a conversation, or the conversation, somewhere in the conversation that's being spoken that you hear first, the first conversation you hear, will have the answer to your question. I wouldn't say it would be the first word you hear, but I would say cover your ears, so you would whisper into Hermes' ear. And then you cover your ears, or don't listen to anyone speaking, and somewhere in the first conversation you walk into, listen for signs and signals of the answer to your question. I would say this because you can even do this if you live alone. You can do this by watching a video on YouTube. You can do it by watching a commercial on TV. So what I did yesterday is, before I even bought this, I did a prayer, and then you cover your ears, and then you turn on the TV, for example, and maybe somewhere on that commercial will give you an answer. What was funny is that I did a prayer and I turned on the TV, and it was a AutoZone commercial, I think. But in that commercial, it asked, the customer asked the employee, "Are you a psychic?" And it was funny that that was the commercial I heard after I covered my ears, and it talked about being a psychic. So that kind of thing is a divination. Again, take that for what you will, but that was a form of divination I wanted to bring up to you guys. So that is a form of divination if you're able to get a bust of Hermes, or a statue. Even your statue of Hermes, I say, would work. But I just wanted something bigger to be whisper into the ear. So I just thought that was really interesting. I always wanted to share with you guys. All right, so this one is the more common known divination connected to Hermes. It is the coin divination. Most people say use 3 coins, but I like to use 4 for the connection to Hermes. And basically, you ask a question, and the more heads you get in the divination, the more it's a yes. You get all tails, it's a no. And the more tails you get, the less it's a good outcome for whatever question you ask. So I'm just using 4 coins. And a thing about divination is, on the coin divination, is that if, for example, something falls off the table, it could be that the god, that Hermes does not want to answer that question, is what tradition says. And if it could also be just an accident. So the rule of thumb is to try 3 times, and if something messes up 3 times, it means that you're not going to get your answer today on that question. And respect-wise, it's been said that you're supposed to wait at least another day before you ask that question again. What you do is ask your question, and then you just throw your coins and see what lands. So let's see. So what would that be? So say that would be 3 and 1 tails. And what's so funny is that I asked it, does this divination work? And you see that most of these, all but 1, came up with that. So what that would tell you is that, yes, it works, but it's with effort, it works. So effort and thought is what it takes to make this really work. So again, all you would do is just ask your question. And again, I'll show you something else in a second, but you just ask your question, then throw it and see what you get. And see, I didn't even ask a question and the majority came out tails. So if you want to consecrate your coins to Hermes, all you do is, like in the book said, I laid it on the right side and I actually prayed over the coins. I said, "Great Hermes, friend of mankind, I thank you for your gifts, and I ask that you bless these coins to help give me some advice when I need it and the answers that I will need. And I thank you, great God." So something like that. And then you just leave it there. So I'm going to leave these coins there for the next time I am ready for the divination again. So there you go, guys. Divination with Hermes. So if you are a follower of Hermes, you have a closer relationship with Hermes and feel more comfortable praying to Hermes than you would Apollo, for example, that's an option out there. That there are many gods that want to help us, and those are a couple of ways to do it. You have your praying into the ear of Hermes. You can try it with your statues. You don't have to have a bust, but if you're able to find a bust of Hermes, really cool. I kind of waited till I got one before I wanted to show that and do that. Or the most easiest of all, the traditionally 3 coin, but I do the 4 coin divination of coins. You throw it and see what you get. Anyway, guys, I will see you later in the next video. Bye.